Hello everybody, and welcome to another video of my series on how to design and develop this simple blog layout. In the first tutorial, I showed you how to design the layout using Adobe XD. In the second tutorial, I showed you how to HTML the project, and in this tutorial, I will show you how to CSS the project. And if you haven't seen the previous videos, I will post the links in the description below. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comment below. And if you like my videos, subscribe to my channel. Okay, let's get started by styling our HTML using Sass. So the first thing we need to do is start by styling the wrapper. So I'm going to copy this and create a CSS element with a class of name wrapper. I will be using grid as I mentioned before, and to do this I will display grid. Okay, so now our wrapper is displayed as grid, and also before I start writing all the columns and rows, I want to name some of the areas. So the first area that I want to name is the header. So I need to give the header a name so we can use it inside the wrapper grid, and I will just show you a super quick example how to do this. And to do this you need to write grid area and just give it a name. I will go simple, and also let's create maybe that needs to be called logo, but let's leave it for now. So the next thing I want to show you is the mobile menu, and do the same. So grid area, and I will call this mobile menu to be consistent. So as you can see, things are starting to break a little bit, but don't worry, let's name the rest of the elements first. So the next element that we need is the slogan. After social we have author. I think that's it for now. Let's have a look quickly. Oh, I missed the container. Awesome, things are looking good so far. Let me just quickly check whether this, yep, it all looks good. Perfect. So I think that's looking good. I'm not sure why the elements are a little bit weird at the top, but maybe when I start doing the grid, things will start looking better. So the first thing I want to do is split the grid columns into two. So to do this, I will create a grid. So what this means is I'm creating a column with, well, I'm creating two columns, and each column takes one fraction of the screen. So think of this as two columns, and they are 50% each. And the next thing I want to do is create the grid template row, and the row will be rows. The row will be one fraction, which means it will start from the left side to the right side. So that will be, let's say, 100%. One fraction is pretty much equals 100%. And the important bit now is creating the template areas. Read template areas, and this is where we can start templating our grid. I want the logo to be on the left side, and I want the menu to be on the right side. And in order to do this, I can do something like this. header is on the left side of the grid, so it takes one fraction, and the menu takes another fraction on the right side. I know things are still looking broken, but don't worry. So we have our header, well, our logo on the left side and our menu on the right side. Then we want the slogan. I want the slogan to take the whole row, and in order to do that you just write slogan and slogan, so it's just taking one row instead of taking columns. And then the next will be author and author. Again, I want the author to take the full width of our template, and the next bit is social. Again, social will take the full width, and container again full width, and last but not least the footer. Okay, now that I've saved this, things are starting to get shape. We have our logo on the left side and the menu on the right side, and we have our footer at the bottom, and so on. So if I inspect this super quickly, you will see that the screen is too small. If I inspect this super quickly, you will see that the layout is split into a grid of 2 columns and many rows, which is exactly what we wanted. So okay, so let me show you the reason that I'm using grid. First of all, it's the upcoming thing and it's quite cool. Second, it's quite powerful. And also, don't forget that we will be using a little bit of Flexbox a little bit later. So you can achieve this with normal CSS, also Flexbox and grid. There is no, but the reason I'm using it is because it gives me a little bit more flexibility, and as I said, it also looks cool. So let me show you what I mean by flexibility. If I wanted to move the menu to be on the left side here, I don't actually have to change anything on the HTML. I can just go back to my grid template and swap the names. And as you can see now, my menu is on the left side and my logo is on the right side. So that has its benefits, and I will show you later on a few really simple examples why this is so cool. So let's go back and let's continue styling. Obviously, the first thing we're going to style here is the header. The header, what I'm going to be doing is add some padding of 40 pixels and 0. 40 pixels means padding at the top, it's 40, and so let me save it quickly. So we're getting padding at the top, which is 40 pixels, and we're getting padding at the bottom, which is 40 pixels, but we're not touching the sides left and right. Also, I forgot to do something very important, and I forgot to finish the wrapper, because if I shrink this, you can see that our layout is kind of like floating on the left side, and it doesn't have the width constraints as our design has. And to do this, I will quickly hack this, and I will do max width 600 pixels. This is the size of our layout of our original design, and I will do margin 0 auto, which is a well-known hack which will then center our layout. It's just a lazy way of doing it. I can also do it with Flexbox. I'm not too sure whether I can do this with grid, but that works perfectly. There is no reason not to use it. And also another thing I want to do is add some padding on the sides. So I want a little bit of padding on the left side and the right side when we go to mobile. If I shrink that down, you can see we have 25 pixels of padding on the left side and right side. And last but not least, I want the border sizing to be border box, which means adding the 25 pixels on top of our width. Okay, so let's continue by, so I've actually finished the header now. I think that's always gonna be. The next thing I will go to is the mobile menu. To do this, I will convert the mobile menu to grid as well. I want the menu to be into one row, so that's at the top and menus at the bottom. And to do that, I can do grid one fraction, remember, takes the whole width of the column. And to center them, I can do align self. You can do start and center. And for this example, we do center. So you can see that my image and my text is now centered in the middle of the column. And to bring this to the end, I can do something like, imagine if you're floating right, I can do something like justify self and the font size of 0.8 em, and that kind of fits, so I'm not going to be touching this anymore. That's perfect. And I will go straight to the slogan. To style the slogan, I will do text align center. So I want this text to be in the center, just like our design. And to refresh your eyes, this is how it looks. So the text will be in the center, and we have a border at the top and border at the bottom and some padding in between. Let's achieve this. So text align center, padding, I can do 10 pixels top and bottom and 0 pixels left and right. The next thing I want to do is the border top. And for this I will use, can I use my secondary color? Yes, for this I will use my secondary color. And that's now working. And I will copy quickly this and the border bottom of 1 pixel solid and the secondary color, and now we're getting this nicely spaced slogan. Let's jump to the social bit now. Just because we've already got the HTML outlined perfectly well, it just speeds up things with styling. You don't have to do it this way, you can do it bits by bits, which is usually a good idea, so things don't get overly complicated and break. But let's continue with the social stuff. So for the social stuff, actually the author is next, so let's move that here. For the author, again, I want this to have 2 columns. I will convert this into a grid, and this will also help me with the responsive design, which I will show you later on. Just continue watching for now, if you're not too bored, of course. So let's continue. Display grid. So I've created a grid here, and each column takes a fraction of the screen. Then I want to create a row which takes another fraction, so the row takes the full screen. Also, you don't have to do this. You can replace this by doing repeat. You can do 2, repeat twice, 1 fraction, and that will be exactly the same as doing the 1FR, 1FR. I will also want the column to have a gap, and to do this we can do grid column gap of, let's say, 6%. So we have a nice little gap in here. Let's give it some padding. Again, this is padding top and bottom, left and right is 0, and that's looking good. Also, I forgot to mention that if we look closely at our design, all of our images have the border radius. To achieve this, what we can do is, let's create a variable for this, just in case if we change our mind later, all of the images take effect. I don't want all the images to have border radius for now, so let's leave it. Instead, or to make it easier, let's add it. So very indecisive. Border radius, and I'll just 20 pixels on all images. So all images are taking the border radius of 20 pixels, and I will remove this at the top. We also need to make things easy for the responsiveness. I will create a grid template. I'll template the areas, and the first area I want to template is the image. So the image we called auto image. If you have a look at the HTML, it's here. So I've given the image the div that wraps the image. I've given a class name of auto image. So this is where I'm getting this from, just so there is no confusion. And in this case, the template will look something like this. So I want the auto image, in this case, to take the full width, and I want the auto content something doesn't seem to work here, so let me have a look quickly. The image wasn't taking the whole row, and the content wasn't taking the next row, and the reason for that is actually fairly simple. I haven't named them. I haven't given them the grid area name. So what I'll do is the class auto grid area, and I'll just copy this quickly, and I will need to do the same for this. Also I can move all this inside the auto, as that div inside is inside that div. And the next one is the auto content, and I'll give it a grid area. Now that I've added the grid area, you can see that the auto image is taking one row and the auto content is taking another. And the reason I'm actually doing this is because when I do the responsiveness, in fact, let's make this responsive right now. So in order to do that, it's actually fairly simple. So what I will do is I will create a quick media query. I'll say min width. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I've designed starting from mobile, and then this is desktop. All this is mobile, and then this is desktop. Let's make this responsive now. Make sure this is above, so this is above 736 pixels. So when I do stuff in the media query, we should get the effect. And to make sure this is looking cool on desktop as well, I can do something like this. And that's it, simple as this. Also, if I wanted the image to be on the right side, as I showed you before, I can just swap their names and you can see they swap. Cool. So now if I go, if I make this responsive, and if I go down, you will see that this is full width for mobile, and for desktop it's split in two. That's what we want. Okay, remember when I did the image, all the images to have the border radius? This is why I didn't want to do it, because that affects every single image, even my logo. So let's quickly remove this for now. And in fact, I will create the variable which was image radius 20 pixels. I will remove this from here and I will add it inside or outer. Maybe we can do maybe everything inside here. And now these images are not affected, but the image inside here is affected, and we have the border radius. I will have to do the same for articles, but we'll do that later on. So let's continue with styling the social bit. The first thing I want to do with the social bit is, again, create a grid, and inside the grid I will have another two columns. So grid, display grid rows, and I want the rows to take one fraction of the screen, and we need the grid template area again, and in this we will have the newsletter and networks. Also, I haven't named them yet, so that's why they're not gonna take effect, and let's do that now. Let's give it the grid area. So newsletter, grid area. We need the same for networks. Let's create a row gap. We have the borders top and bottom now created, and because we are designing for mobile first, let's scale this down. What I want to do essentially is this will be on one line on mobile, and the social network icons will be on another line on mobile. But when we go to desktop, then we can split them in two columns. That's why here I've created just one row for now, and later on I will show you how to split this into two columns just in a second. So let's continue with this for now. For the newsletter, I will also want to display this as a grid. I want the input to take more space than the button, and to do this I can go grid, template, I keep doing this, columns, and I want the first item to take two fractions of the available space and one fraction for the second item, which is the submit button. So as you can see, the input takes a lot more space than the submit button. You can do this with percentages, but you can get a little bit, percentages don't work very well sometimes. So let's try it out. So that works exactly the same here as 80 and 20%, but let's use fractions here. The subscribe button, let's quickly style that. Background color, I want it to be the primary color, which was black. Okay, we're getting, this is a little bit weird here. So I need to have a look at me my HTML. Problem is that this shouldn't be called the subscribe button. This should be the, maybe let's call this the subscribe input, and the second item here can be the subscribe button. So subscribe button, we have the background color black. Also I want the color to be white of the text, so we get that. Now I want to style the input, and for this, because we are using it's a fairly small website template, I will just do some global stuff in here. So for the input, I will do font family. I wanted to inherit the parent, so it's basically inherited the font from the body, which is Source Serif Pro. I want to remove all the borders of the button. Font, let's bump up the font size to be 1.1 M, and let's give it a height of 65, and also a little bit of padding. So when we write in here, we have that space. Let's carry on because the video is getting very long now. What I want to do here is change the color to be the secondary color. So it's very light. I don't know whether it's too light, but that's fine for now. Let's carry on. The next thing we would want to style is the icons, and to do this I will show you a very cool trick. So we have the social. Basically I want to have equal spacings between all of the elements, and I want them to be also centered. And also if the user adds more icons, for example, maybe we can add LinkedIn and other platforms, I want them to be always equally spaced and in the middle. So to do this, I will actually use, so let's do display flex, justify content center. That centers every single element in the middle. I want to align items. To do the space between them, it's actually very simple. We have wrapped the networks in links, so I'm gonna use the link grow to 1. This is with the flex grow. We are getting equal width on every single box. And if I was to add another link here, let's say another social network, the width will be the same. So let's remove this and go back. So to center the items in the middle of the boxes here, text align center. Also I would want to do something like flex basis 0, so when we squish the design they all take equal space. Because if I will try to show you. So if we go down as much as we can, you will see that the items are staying exactly the same width, but if I take off the flex basis, they won't. Because the width of some of the icons are bigger than others, boxes don't stay the same. So let's continue. And remove the border. So now everything is looking nicely here, but we also want a version for the desktop. That again will be very easy to do. All I need to do is go to a media query, social. I want to create a grid template, columns of 1 fraction, and so what I'm achieving here is I want the newsletter to take 1 fraction of the column, and I want the social network icons to take the 2nd fraction of the column. To change this, we first need to go to desktop mode, so anything above 736, and as you can see it's already taken effect, but we need to do something very important, and it's the grid template areas. And all we have to do is change it to and content. That's it. I've messed up something here, so let me quickly check what's going on. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. So what we have to do is Auto Social class, create a grid template area. The newsletter can be on the left side and the network can be on the right side. So basically, if we go to social, before I had the newsletter at the top and the network at the bottom, we are just swapping them to work as a grid column, and the newsletter is taking 2 fractions of the screen and the network is taking 1 fraction. If I now go down to mobile, you see that we get the newsletter at the top and the icons at the bottom. So a few more things to do. This tutorial has been very long so far. I didn't expect it to be that long. Let's continue. So the articles. So we can start writing the articles. Okay, so I've created another grid template area, and basically I'm calling this to be the thumbnail and this to be the content. And again, I'm referencing this from here. So thumbnail and the content. So let's start by doing the thumbnail, and we can write that inside here as is. The thumbnail is a child of article class, and to do this I want the height to be 217 pixels. Don't forget to add the grid area of thumbnail. Let's add image styles. I'm using for the border radius here, I am using the variable at the top, which is that one. I'm referencing that. I am a little bit unsure why it hasn't taken effect yet. Take this out for now, just to test it out. Let's leave it this for now to speed up the process. I want to add a few properties for this. So first of all, I want to make sure that this image is cropped by the size I've given here. So 270 pixels. And to do this, I will need to give it a width of 100%, a height of 100%, and object fit, cover. And also I want to do the filter, and I want to add the gray scale filter 100%. So I want all the images to be black and white. I know I'm using black and white images here, but you have to trust me on this one. To make them grayscale, just do filter grayscale 100%, and that should work for you. Now we need to also name the content area. This, I'll just do that. We can also include all this in here. Oh no, not sure why this isn't working, but let's leave it for now to speed up the process. Things looking good. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is the articles. For this, I will create a class called article, and also I just realized that I've called all of the divs articles, so I'm gonna go ahead and quickly change that to article because they are individual articles. Cool. So the first thing I'm gonna do is display grid So I've created a grid template area. and I will also need to give the areas names. So to do this, the thumbnail, I'm struggling to write now after this. The thumbnail, it's grid area thumbnail, and the content is grid area content. That should work. For the thumbnail, I want to restrict the height. To do this, I will do height of 270 pixels, and I will do border radius of the radius that we've given above. This is a variable. I want the width to be 100 percent and the height to be 100%, so we can do object fit cover. You can see that the images are 270 pixels. Also, because I want the images, I know these images are black and white, but I want the template to, no matter if you add a colorful image or not, I want all the images to be black and white. To do this, you can do filter grayscale of 100% and also do a WebKit. I want to find out why my images are not full width. So another problem to solve. Width is not spelled Windows. Okay, that was too obvious. So we don't have much more left. Let's finish this. Let's make this responsive. So as you can see, this is our mobile version at the moment. For the desktop, I want the articles to be in 2 columns. So image on the left side and content on the right side. And to do this, again, I think it'll be fairly simple. So I can do article grid template columns, 1 fraction for the left side of the columns and another fraction for the right side for this. I also need to change the grid template areas to be like this. So I want the thumbnail to be on the left side and I want the content to be on the right side. And if I save, we get the images on the left side, the content on the right side, and if I scale down the browser, this is how it looks on mobile. It looks super cool. A few more things to do to finish off. I need to style this button, and also I need to style the load more and the footer. I will be super quick here. Okay, that looks a little bit more presentable. Now we've got that space at the top and bottom, and for the load more button at the bottom, $40 should do the job. Awesome, this is looking good. And finally, I just want to style the footer center. The one thing that we didn't do is the menu that drops down. Let's quickly create a menu, and for this I'm not gonna waste any more time. I will just go ahead and show you how I've done it. So for the menu, I will add the menu underneath or menu mobile div, which is this. Basically what I'm doing is I've created a div with the ID of toggle menu and style display none. I will hide this for a second so you can see it. I think it appears at the bottom because it has no styles at the moment. So I've created unordered list with, and inside each list we have a link. That's pretty much it. Fairly simple. And in order to style this, we can do something like this. Let's add it here for now. Toggle my menu. So I'm giving a font, okay, Let me show you what's happening. So I'm giving it a font size of 1.6 ems, position absolute, top 140 pixels. So I'm pushing basically the div 140 pixels from the top. Background color white, left 0, so it starts from the left and right, which means we can then center the text in the middle by using text align center, and Z index, so the toggle menu is at the top of all other elements. Then let's quickly style the list. Unordered list, I've set style list style none, so we are removing the bullet points. Also, I think this will be a really cool part to explain, so I'm gonna do this quickly. For each list item, I'm giving padding of 20 pixels and position relative, so I can then do that a little separator. And the way I've done this is by using, here I've basically set for every element of the list except the last child, and the content is basically just a line. And then I've rotated this line 90 degrees, so it looks like this. If I remove this, you'll see that this is just a normal line that you can do with your keyboard. And that's pretty much it. Okay, I hope you made it to the end of this tutorial. I hope you've learned something. If you liked the video, please click the like button. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. And please comment below if you have any questions. Thank you very much and stay awesome.